Hello, and welcome to another episode of Power On Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Taylor, and with me is the Pleistocene Party Pooper, alliteration. Sushi B, how you doing?
What? I thought you might go with like the Caveman Ninja or something.
Always gotta keep you on your toe.
Anything works. How you doing?
I'm doing alright, doing okay. So, and how about yourself? I don't think I didn't catch that.
I'm doing not bad. I'm kind of looking forward to this game because something I've been playing for a long time and something a little different, I think, as well for us. Something that kind of mixes a couple of genres and adds a little bit of a different flair. And it's also because it's another Data East. So
Data East. Right.
And this is the game that actually has that at the beginning with that Data East.
Thank merciful. So, and just to throw it out there, this is we're doing the SNES.
Yes, we are. Yeah, there's quite a few versions. So
yeah, I guess before diving into it, you're talking about Joe and Mac 1, Caveman Ninja. I actually have childhood memories of the arcade game.
Oh, okay. I've never played the arcade game, so.
Yeah, I played it a little bit at a skating rink.
Hmm.
It was in town and stuff. There was that, and then there was, I don't remember what the game is. I always forget it. It was a little tiny arcade machine that, it was standing, but it had a gas pedal and stuff.
Okay.
You'd have to, like, drive to try to avoid and rack up points. And
is it Super Monaco GP?
It could be. I don't.
Like, was it kind of a tiny screen, and did the top have more of a digital readout? Like with red numbers?
I don't remember that so much. I just remember it being a standing thing where you would have the wheel and the gas pedal and stuff. And I know you were avoiding cars and stuff on like a stretch of highway.
Just not to get too off topic, was the screen sort of like, were you kind of looking down at the screen?
Yes. It's
probably Monaco GP then. It's a Sega game. Yeah, it's probably that. Like, I can't say with 100% certainty, but that because that is a bit of a smaller cab. It's like this weird, almost like, I don't know, 3.5, 4 foot cab with the screen kind of tilted, but almost kind of flat. And then above everything is like more of a digital readout. Like, it's not projected off the screen. It just has like these digital readouts, and then it has like today's high score, and then it has your score, and that's it, right?
Could have. I
love that game. It's really fun
didn't
game.
play it. I didn't play it a ton. I mean, it's not like I played either one of them that much, but like I played the first Joe and Mac a little bit more. Personally, I have a lot more experience with Joe and Mac 2 because I owned that on the Super Nintendo way back in the day. But I did play this arcade one a little bit. So I will say this: it is quite a disappointment not to have doppelgangers, dinosaur teeth, electric sparks. So it's quite pared down for its weapon selection compared to the arcade version.
But I think this came out the same year as the arcade version, which is pretty interesting. And considering being an early Super Nintendo game, yes, it probably doesn't transpose the arcade experience exactly, but you know, it's probably done not badly. I would guess. Like, I haven't played the arcade version. But considering that they came out within the same year or whatever, often games take a bit longer, and then you're like, oh, like the Punisher on Genesis and stuff, where they're quite a bit weaker or quite a bit worse. So, yeah.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, what's the history for it for you there?
Yeah, somebody owned this game. I don't know when it was, but they introduced me to it, and we were just talking before this that I do enjoy a lot of co-op experience games. And so this kind of probably fell in the vein with Contra and anything like that where you can play with someone. So, and being on the same screen at the same time and everything, you know, kind of coordinating like, okay, you do this and I'll do that or whatever on the boss and things like, because in a lot of the bosses in this game, there's just like those random goofballs like flying around and stuff. So you have like somebody who's trying to, you know, crowd control those goofballs that are rolling and on the screen and stuff, while the other person's kind of doing as much damage on the main boss as much as possible. I always find that fun with these types of games. So yeah, they must have owned the game. I don't think they rented. I think they owned it, and they kind of showed me in it, and they were familiar with the game, so they were kind of also teaching me as we were playing. That's kind of how I learned a lot of games, was playing with somebody who already owned the game, and having enough skills that they kind of could show you. And yes, you were still a little bit worse than them at it, but after a few play sessions, you were either on par or maybe a little bit ahead or a little bit behind them.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Well, yeah,
I've yet to play 2 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I did just kind of watch a video on 2 just to get a general sense of it and a little bit of a vibe. I did hear there's a little bit of an RPG twist, not a lot, but a little bit in that one. So it does look like it plays. So, there's elements that are the same, but it does look different too.
Yeah, I will say this. I played this one off the Switch Online thing. That's got a bunch of different Super Nintendo games on it. Mm-hmm. Both 1 and 2 are on there. It took me forever because when you pick this game, I was like, because it was on the list of stuff, and it took me a while. I'm like, where is this game at? The cover for this game
cover's terrible.
Is mildly awful.
Mildly awful. It's just basically a giant dinosaur's only like part of its head, basically, and 2 random schmucks like on their actually most of the have you seen like the poster art for like this whole franchise has kind of crappy art for the most part.
Well, the second game's cover and stuff is just there's color to it. That's what I really liked about that second game. There's
it's still nice, not the best though.
I'm not saying it's great, but compared to this, it's great.
Yeah,
it took me a moment, and then I finally found it. I was like, oh, thank God. Sigh of relief, I can actually play this game.
Was it under Joe and Mac, or was it under, like, Caveman Ninja?
I think it was just under Joe and Mac.
Yeah, because, like, the North American, I think, was always just called Joe and Mac. I don't think it really had, like, the Caveman Ninja. It might have been a subtitle in some versions, but I don't think it was ever, like, the main title. I don't know if I prefer that title or Joe and Mac. I don't know.
I just prefer Joe and Mac.
Yeah, I think Joe and Mac's probably from
Caveman Ninja is too
a little off-putting.
It's just too insert whatever word you want to describe it, but it is just.
Well, they don't really look very ninja-esque at all, really. So they're just 2 guys running around with leaves around their waist.
Right? Yeah, not much in the
stealth department.
Right. Beverly Hills Ninja. Come on there.
Yeah, even Chris Farley was more stealth than these guys. But I guess if you're in prehistoric days, I mean, you're running from dinosaurs. I mean, how stealth can you be?
Oh, goodness. Oh. So, let's start off with some things we like about this game. What's something you like about this game?
So one thing I like about this game, it's a really nice early SNES game that's really showcases that sort of color display and is quite like a bright and vivid game. Like there's softness to parts of the art direction, but I do find that it kind of just pops off the screen a little bit. I feel like it's got some good color and contrast that's going on. There's only like shades of red or like dark oranges and stuff here and there. It's a little more of an earthy tone color game, but the skies are really blue in the game, and I just feel like the colors pop a lot of this game. So it's kind of, for me at least, fairly visually appealing. I will say from what I saw of 2, and again, it's without playing 2 to know, I was just like, why does 2 almost have like a gray filter over top everything? Like it just feels like it's really dull. Like it's got this weird.
See, I don't remember that for 2. I remember 2 being a lot more vibrant in its coloring.
I don't know, just from what I've seen of it, again, without having a copy of it, because 2's, I told you, is kind of a harder to come by game these days,
right?
And fairly pricey if you do find it. This one's like a quite dirt cheap game. Like it's not expensive. But just from what I've seen, I just like, oh, it looks a lot darker in the stuff. Like it just looked different. Like it's not completely different, but yeah, the art direction looks a little different, which is fine, but I just thought the colors didn't pop. But for this one, I don't know. I like that the colors pop. I think the animations are pretty good. Yes, there's not like a lot of them, But like one of my favorites is when those doorknob cave creeps, like when they hit you with the club and how they they turn into like Sonic, the way their feet
they
like,
run off,
and like their
if
eye,
there
like their
is
facial
a more
expression and stuff.
aggravating just insult than that, yeah, because that happens.
Yeah,
because yeah, you just
it makes me
you
laugh, but
have,
it makes me angry at the same time.
oh, it's such a smack in the face.
Well,
You're
it's
like,
kind of like,
really?
why you little, like you want to chase
Right.
it. But yeah, I find the animations are pretty solid for an early game, and I know I've seen some of the ones on the arcade version, which again, in almost every case until the late '90s, where games were being put on the Dreamcast and the Saturn and the PlayStation and stuff, where they were getting much closer to the arcade, if not like identical. This was not a bad attempt, and I think there's some good animations here and some nice big colorful bosses and that kind of thing.
It's missing the battle toads. Where they're like, ah, like they get shocked by the monster, like the bosses.
Yeah, well here, like, yeah, in the arcade their eyes like pop out or whatever, right? And this one,
right.
they yeah, just probably had limitations and not knowing the hardware quite yet and stuff like that. So
yeah, so
how did you find like the game was at least kind of colorful? Or
I don't necessarily agree it's as colorful as you paint it to be, but maybe that's because I'm more so, like I said, used to 2, and I remember 2 having a lot more color. I mean, there was that kind of smoky haziness to it, but yeah, 1 feels, which isn't necessarily bad, but 1 does feel like it's a little stripped down comparatively so, but it's not awful. It does get a lot more prominent, especially with its background stuff, like when it gets towards the volcano and everything, and you got the thing going off in the background, or at least looking like it's going off in the background and stuff.
Like some of that parallax scrolling and stuff.
I like that a bit more than the kind of earlier stuff, because the earlier stuff to me looked a bit more drab outside, like it's like the very, very short level of the waterfall, but
or like, yeah, because it has like the parallax scrolling with the water moving with the foreground and stuff. That stage, you mean?
Well, no, the water where you're just falling, and then you get to the bottom, and it's that boss. It's like a 40-second stage.
Right. That's pretty irritating with those falling rocks and stuff.
So, but like I said, I don't necessarily think it's bad or anything of the sort. And like you said, this is an early. Like, when did the Super Nintendo come out again? What year?
I think North America's 1991. So this is probably a very early game.
So yeah, I mean, it came out in Japan in 91, and then 92 in the States.
Okay, so then this must be a 92 release then. So, right, 91 in Japan probably, and then I'm assuming 92 North America.
Yeah. So.
And we see that with most new games, right? Like they age pretty quickly. Like by the time you get to that 4th, 5th year, some do amazing. Like Mario World still looks pretty phenomenal. Like it's still a pretty good looking game. But
yeah, so that guess kind of pivot off of something I did say there. Something I don't dislike about this game. That is a positive, and I don't mean in a backhanded way, but it is a short game.
Yeah, I like that too.
It does not overstay its welcome, because the controls are a little there are some question marks.
A little arcadey.
Yeah, that, and trying to get the sometimes I don't know if I was just how I was handling or what. Like I would go into the roll.
The forward roll?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wonky. Like it doesn't, it's not very fluid.
Yeah. So it wasn't overly long to where the controls became an issue, nor outside of one small portion towards the end in particular did it really make it annoying with platforming. Like that little bit where the very, like, right, I think it's the start of the last stage or something, where it's like the really small platforms. And you can fall into the pit.
Oh yeah, that part's a bit frustrating. Yeah, with the lightning and everything. Yeah.
So,
but again, you're right. It's not super long. It's frustrating for sure, but it's maybe 15 to 20 seconds of the game. Or so.
Right,
like
right.
it's and there's a couple of other parts like the lava where you have to jump on those those pterodactyls and stuff. That's a little bit frustrating, but you can just be like, well, I'll just take a couple of damage here and just zoom through it or whatever.
Right, because food is pretty plentiful.
Yeah, there's quite a few, and there's a fair amount of 1-ups and stuff as well. Yeah, so I agree with you on the length. Yeah, not in the negative sense where some people are like, oh, the game's too short, but it's just a quick pick up and play game. You know, you're going to be done it in probably 45 minutes, something like that, give or take, maybe an hour, something like that for most players, and then you can go play something else and just get a quick fix if you enjoy the game. So.
Yeah, because there's some of them that are just baffling, like that waterfall stage is super short.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was playing, I was like, oh, okay, sure, boss time. Let's roll.
Yeah. I like that silly boss too.
That thing looks so dorky.
Yeah. Yeah. Another positive is I like the bosses here. Like there's a couple of ones where you could be like, I wish there was a bit more variety for a couple of them. But on the whole, it's an okay collection, and they're pretty easy to learn most of the patterns and so forth. Like they're not super hard. And again, I like some of the animations, like when they get hurt and they're like, oh, like that. I think that's kind of funny. And just, because I know we get like the Tyrannosaurus basically twice, right? Like you get the one at the beginning, and then you get the one with the circular neck thing.
Get the bone.
Yeah, the bone one is, I like that one. That one's kind of cool.
One as well. That one's, that fight was obnoxious.
It's tough, but yeah. But it added something different, right? It wasn't just, oh, here we go, another.
It did, but it was
dinosaur.
It was less that it was tough or anything, but it was more of like, it dragged out the fight. And you're like, okay, come on.
It's a longer one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I hit you once, and now it's similar to the whatever the spiky boy. I'm not a dinosaur guy, so I don't.
Ankylosaurus.
Is that the one that turned into a ball, rolled around, and would stop?
Yeah, the Ankylosaurus one. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know dinosaurs at all.
No.
Just never had a dinosaur phase as a kid. So.
No, it's all good. Yeah, that fight's a little bit longer just because he has shorter health, but he can only be hit at certain times or whatever. But again, once you kind of quickly catch the pattern, it's not very hard.
Difficult.
So.
Yeah, it was just more of slowed the pace down.
Sure.
Like, okay.
Sure. Yeah, they could have maybe just increased his length of health bar and just had a few more moments where you could hit him more often or something. So it's again, I guess it threw in a little variety though, right? Most of these bosses are just kind of pretty straightforward patterns once you've tried them a couple of times. But it added like a little bit different than just, oh, another dinosaur off screen that's just kind of like trying to chomp at you and stuff like that. So so I like more or less the bosses. I like the death sequences of them, like the pterodactyl who's like, oh, like it like pops off the screen. The woolly mammoth, like its trunk flying off and still fighting. It's just silliness.
I hated that. The woolly mammoth is probably my least favorite.
Oh, really?
Between that and the final boss fight were probably the two most obnoxious things to me. That woolly mammoth one, the hitbox.
Oh, okay.
Really not. It's generous for the boss, but it's not so generous for the player.
Yeah, once the rocks start falling on you and stuff.
Well, just the hitbox of the woolly mammoth itself will just hit you. Same with the whatever the final dinosaur that you fight.
The Tyrannosaurus Rex one?
Is it a T-Rex as the last one?
Like you get the bone one, and then you get that long neck T-Rex one that is got like the full length bar or whatever, and it's spitting out the guys at you, and you got to kill them so you can get some more health back. And that one is funny. You got to be on the right side of the screen and stay under him basically, and keep hitting him from up below.
The hitbox is pretty bad on that one too. I noticed
it is. There's a sweet spot where you can kind of hide, and he can more or less not hit you most of the time, and then when he spits out those rolling goofballs, and you can hit them to pick up meat or whatever, that's kind of how you can work on him. And then just be ready for when his tail's gonna come at you or whatever. Wait, no, does he have a tail?
No.
I think I'm the first one that has the tail, sorry. But yeah, once you kind of figure out the sweet spots, like the mammoth one is like stay on the far left, and when he comes at you, you're going to hit him a couple of times, and then when the rocks fall, you just kind of pivot in between. So just, take some practice on some of them, and some of them seem like super, super easy. Like the dolphin things it's not a dolphin, but I can't remember what that dinosaur's called. Kind of like a Chronosaurus thing or something. They're pretty easy. But on the whole, I find the bosses I like that they're not that aggravating for the most part. Like I'm not white knuckled like trying to. This game on the whole is pretty easy on the whole, at least on the normal mode. So it's nice to just play something that doesn't necessarily challenge you too hard, and it's just kind of like you're just kind of having some fun, and that's it.
Right, because I would never played the SNES version. I hadn't played the arcade one since I was a kid, but I got game over once, and then I beat it on the second try.
Yeah, I know the Genesis one is pretty miserable. It's much harder, and I think it's much closer to this.
I didn't even know there was a Genesis.
Oh, there's an NES one as well. And the NES one I think is the most valuable of all of them. It's the hardest one to find for a reasonable price. That's probably going into the hundreds for that game. It's a super late NES release, and nobody cared about it because of the Super Nintendo release. They were just like, why would I buy?
Was it still called like Joe and Mac?
It's called Joe and Mac.
Genesis?
It is called Joe and Mac for Genesis and Joe and Mac for the NES.
I didn't even know there was one for the Genesis.
Yeah, I have the Genesis one as well. So, and there's a couple of different weapons in the Genesis one, but as far as I can tell, it looks like it's.
Sure, it's not just like the arcade one repurposed.
It could be, because like the health bar and stuff looks like the arcade. Like this one goes with the little hearts and stuff, and that one the health bar is. But I think you have to. I can't remember. I haven't played in a bit, but I can't remember if you have to collect fruit because your health bar is going down, kind of like Adventure Island.
No, the arcade. That's what it did.
Yeah, so I think the Genesis one is closer to the arcade one then. Yeah, pretty tough game.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, some days it's fun to play those kind of games, and there's certain games I want to challenge, like Ninja Gaiden on the PlayStation 3 or Xbox or whatever. Like sometimes those I really enjoy, and sometimes for more arcadey ones, I'm like, I don't really have the interest to have to try to really learn this just for the heck of it, kind of. So, yeah.
All right.
I'm no B. Clark trying to 1cc everything.
Oh, shots fired.
Well, good for him. Like if he can do it and he enjoys it, go for it. It's just I'm just like I don't really find that for me is that fun for most games. Like I'm not really looking for that type of challenge. I just want to enjoy my experience most of the time.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, we all have to have those one few games that you're just like, yeah, totally. So. Where you enjoyed it, I was very much of the middling mind when it came to the bosses there. So, and then the final boss or at least for the Super Nintendo version, is the Heart Devil, which I was like, I'm playing, I'm like, oh, this has got some very strong echoes of Contra for a moment here.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then all of a sudden, you had the, almost like a, just a little, I don't know what the heck is the little mini demons from like Dragon Quest kind of looking thing. You're like,
yeah,
oh,
kind of,
okay.
actually, yeah. He's got his pitchfork, kind of looks like the fork. Yeah, kind of, yeah. It would have been funny, actually, if they would have went with, like, if you had to attack the heart like Contra, and then that thing came out after or something. Little nod to Contra.
Yeah, it was... I think it just kind of skews the same with, like, Woolly Mammoth and the final boss right before it, where it was just like, okay, all right, this is just taking a really long time. Especially that elongated T-Rex thing, whatever. It was just kind of like, all right, this is taking forever, because I use the wheel weapon.
Yeah, I use the wheel as well, because it's the strongest. So.
And it was just like, okay, come on! So.
Yeah, I don't find the devil that bad. Like, again, because I played this game a lot, so I kind of know what to expect from the pattern and like when I can hit him. This is one of those arcade games, or arcade style games, that has that weird sort of like recharge. What is that term for that? Where, you know, you have that when you get hit, and you usually get that little bit of invincibility for
the iframes?
Second or something. And then these bosses, they get quite a long recharge frame there, where it's like, okay, you hit them, and then they're like, oh, they lose some power. And then it takes some time for them to recharge where you can hit them, because like you can be throwing stuff at them and it's just hitting them and nothing's happening.
Right.
So I can see that being a bit frustrating, like for players. Like you can't just wail on them, right? And just, you know, find that sweet spot and just take them down in a couple of seconds. So it doesn't bother me, but I could see that being a bit frustrating for some players.
Yeah, it's I'd probably say it's a little annoying for me.
That's fine.
I could just wail on them, smack them, show them the business.
Yeah. It's a little bit different than some arcade beat-em-ups, right? Where you just kind of get in there and try to do as much damage as possible until they do some kind of move that, you know, pushes you away, and then where, you know, like they start changing color and stuff. They probably could have gone with that here, but they didn't, and that's fine. Yeah, it kind of goes to that other side of what some arcade games did with this kind of way of trying to elongate the fight and hoping that you're going to have to put in another quarter,
right,
because you're going to die of getting hit or whatever. So.
Because it's like, oh yes, especially with like in the arcade version and stuff, where it's like, oh, your health's diminishing.
Yeah, well, plus, yeah, put that on top of that. That was a really annoying tactic. A lot of games did. Right? A lot of games just try to force you to
give us your quarters.
Yeah, like Adventure Island was bad. Wonder Boy. There's so many games, right? Like Double Dragon 3 with that nonsense of buying power-ups and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, for all the things we complain about that, it's no different than gaming today, you know? It's like, you know, oh, you know, play to win kind of thing. Buy a whole bunch of tools and items to get through the game faster and stuff. It's no different. It's even worse now. So for anybody who's like, oh, these arcade games are dumb, they were so cheap, it's like, games today are even worse. They want you to blow thousands of dollars on just accessories that don't even do anything. So it's not any better.
Or that are spending the most precious resource of time.
That too. That's how they get you. They're like, are you really going to spend 60 hours playing this to get a piece of armor when you can just pay us $3? And, you know, in your head, oh, it's $3, it's just $3. And the next thing you know, you spent 400. So. But I'm glad they didn't put that in this version. I like that it's just straightforward with the health, and you're not losing health. And I've never been a fan of that aspect. So. It's too stressful. I think the last game I played that the last more modern game that had that would have been like the Otogi series on Xbox, where your health is depleting. That and the Shinobi on PS2. So you have to like keep killing so that you can keep getting it to fill up that meter.
Didn't Prime 2 kind of do that with the phase areas?
Metroid?
Yeah.
I've played like maybe 20 minutes of Metroid Prime 1, and I never went back. I was just like, I don't have a strong affinity for Metroid, so I have no idea.
I think, well, it might be a little bit different, but like there's areas where it's just constantly draining, and you have to like find little sections to kind of.
But it's not the whole game, is it?
No.
Yeah, but it's a mechanic that's in there.
That's it. Yeah, certain areas that you are forced to do that. It's not like Super Metroid where you'd be like, okay, really you can do this, but I really don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Let me come back when I have the proper suit for it.
No, these are like full mechanics in Otogi and Shinobi. And it's funny, Shinobi took a lot of flack for that. I remember people saying like that really, really made them mad. They just wanted to be able to just kind of take their time and explore the spaces and stuff. But the game kind of encourages you to do it quickly, because once that meter runs down, it starts draining your health, and Otogi did the same thing. But I didn't hear Otogi getting as much flack for it, probably because Shinobi's a more known franchise, and so there was a different expectation, I think, of the game. I'm not sure if Nightshade did it as well, the sequel, but it might have. But I know Otogi, like that first game, you're just like, oh wow, this is really frustrating, because sometimes you just don't know where to go. And it's such a beautiful game that you want, and it encourages you to destroy everything. Like you can cut down trees and cut down buildings. So you just have fun doing that. Next thing you're like, oh, my health is suddenly drained. What happened? Because you have to do the objectives and stuff. So yeah, but really,
it does happen in the Ninja Gaiden games as well. But that's because you're getting slapped by monsters and baddies the whole time.
That's different, right? That's not. Can you imagine if they threw that on top of that? That game would be very frustrating.
That'd be awful.
It'd been nice if they would have been able to turn that mechanic off. Like if you wanted to, like even the easy mode doesn't just like turn it off. It's like if you went to the easy mode and you just wanted to play the game without that extra stress, that would have been nice to add to those ones. But yeah, anyways. Thanks, back to you.
Back to me. I don't really have much else in the way of good.
Okay. Well, it's not a long game, so I'm not going to probably have too many comments on a lot of it. I think, again, I like that there's co-op here. I think that's a really great addition. Like, they could have easily not had, like, Final Fight came out and everyone was really disappointed that Super Nintendo version didn't have co-op, so thankfully they at least added that. It's a quick playthrough, and I think for me, as bad as they are, for some reason I find the sound effects really endearing. Like, they're pretty bad, but just like when you hit those goofball cave guys and they're like, oha, oha. It's just such a weird sound. Like, where did that sound? What does that mean? What is that?
I don't know. Like, that did not stick in my head at all.
Right? Well, I don't know. That sound to this day, like, sometimes I'll say that to a friend of mine, like, oha, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, and just like when you hit those dinosaurs, I'm like just they're not good sound effects. Like, they're not of good quality, but for some reason they're very endearing to me, and I don't know why.
That was the only time when a sound effect sticks out to me is if it's like bad. I don't really remember them sticking out at all. So I just remember the dying.
Great, but that's because that's Chopin. So. That's sure, whatever, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
That is literally the only sound I remember from that game.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, it's just it just doesn't. There's just not. It's just inoffensive. So, like, it's not like it's bad sound, but it's not like it's any good sound. Nor is there any really good music or anything to it. So, yeah. So. It's a very just even keel sort of thing for me.
Okay, should we move into the gray then?
Yeah.
Or the gray and the bad, however you want to juggle that.
The gray goo. But yeah, gray goo, like I said, music and sound for me. Like,
yeah, I would say the music as well. Like, it's certainly not terrible, but it's not like amazing. I think the song that I probably, or like the song that kind of sticks in my head the most is probably the boss music. And other than that, just that and it's just because it's repeated over and over. It gets stuck in my head. But a lot of the other stages are quite somber, right? The music is, to me, it doesn't quite match the more vibrant colors of the game. It's just kind of very mellow in a lot of spots. It doesn't really stand out other than that boss music, really. So it's certainly not bad, but it's not, you're not going to rush out to get that soundtrack. Maybe I want it just for track 7 of
play this on loop.
Yeah. You might go crazy.
Yeah. Another middling thing. I don't think it's bad, but the controls.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, they're not. Yeah, like they're not bad to where it's like
completely broken.
I'm having an aneurysm, partially because the game isn't difficult, but also it's just like I like that. I like it, but I also hate the press up to jump higher.
Like they could have maybe just done like a double jump by hitting the button twice or something instead.
I'm not certain how they could have gotten around it, but yeah, the jump to or up to jump higher versus pressing up so you can throw something. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of clunky. So if you want to do that, you could, I don't know, like with that stupid heart devil at the end, it felt like I was jumping when I didn't want to jump. And I wanted to maybe just do it like jump
attack upward, you mean?
Right, but I wanted to jump up and then attack upward, but like I was just having, I get an operator error.
Yeah.
But it felt really clunky, and I was like, and then the jump is just, when you have that up jump, it's like,
you're quite a big target as well on just the main jump. Like you're, when you do the higher jump, you tuck in a ball kind of closer to like Contra, so you're a little bit smaller. Thankfully, this game, they could have easily done like a Super Ghouls and Ghosts thing where you're committed to the jump. At least you have some mobility in the air to some degree.
Right.
They could have just had, oh no, you're committed, and now you're in a pit. so at least they kind of made some sensibility of that, because that's always a pretty hard sticking point for a lot of people playing any type of platform style game. But you're right. It is very slippery. Like the arcade, I feel like the Genesis one is pretty slippery too. So I'm going to assume the arcade's kind of slippery. But this one, it's weird when you're trying to go forward. Like, when you jump on one of those pterodactyls and it just feels like you're constantly almost about to fall off. Like it almost feels like it's constantly pushing you off. And then you're like, you just try to take a step or two, just a smidge forward, and then you roll into that forward ball and now you're off the thing. And you're like, that's
I remember
a bit
that early on, that, like, I think the first river, kind of like, or just the first stage where there's more water. There's little tiny platforms that are
stage 2
at an angle. Yeah, it might have been, like stage 2, where I have it at that angle. That's that same there. It's like, okay, I landed on it, and then you start to try to move to jump, and it feels like it'd be like, oh, you wanted to roll. It's like, no, I really didn't want to do that.
Yeah, you didn't want to do a barrel roll.
Yeah, no. Stop.
Yeah, so thankfully the game is relatively forgiving in a lot of other spots that it's like, well, that could have been so much worse. So so I agree. I think it's more in the middle. It's certainly not, it's not good, but it's certainly not like just absolutely horrible. So. And like at least the attacking stuff, it's got a bit of a slow animation to it. But if you're understanding what weapon you're using and how many you can throw at once, it's not that hard to manage.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Probably the worst thing though is just if you get stuck with the club.
Yeah, you're in some trouble.
It's not, and at least mercifully so. If you have lives and you lose a life, you still have the weapon.
Yeah, and you can cycle through all of them if you have them all. So you can. I do like that, actually. I should probably put that in the good. I do like that once you have a weapon, you're not just stuck with that weapon. If you don't like the fire, you can switch back to the boomerang or whatever, right? Like if you have them. So I like that addition. Like they didn't just, most games you get a power up and you're stuck with a power up until others come along. So I think that was a nice way of just saying, like, to compromise to the player to give you a little bit of an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you feel that was actually probably in the good or more in the middle.
I never even used it. I just was like, okay, I'm riding with this. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah, like I do like that you can change. So I think it's helpful to players. You get a little more player choice and stuff. So. And you want to hit something off screen and it's slightly downward, you can now change to the bone weapon, right? And kind of hit it before it gets to you. Or if it's going a little bit up, throw a boomerang, whatever. So yeah, I like that.
If it was not the stone wheel, I was riding fire. I was spitting bars.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that on the sound effects. Does it not sound like when you're fighting the piranha plant, when you're hitting it, does it seriously not sound like it's saying "damn" when you hit it? Does it not?
Like I said, dude, I don't remember any of the sounds outside of the death sound. I don't know why.
I'm gonna find that. Just listen to that one more time and tell me that's not what it's saying.
I for whatever reason, I don't. And it's not like I had the TV down low and just quiet. No, like it was like none of the sound sticks in my head at all. So sorry, can't deny nor confirm your.
Well, I'll play it for you again and tell me what you think.
You're looking it up now.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Why would I send it to you now? I'll send it to you later.
I thought you were gonna.
No, I'll send it to you later. I'm not gonna send it to you now.
Yeah, but yeah, no,
I think it's that vital to the discussion.
Yeah, I'm being serious. Like outside of the death sound, death jingle, I don't remember any of the sounds in this game at all.
I'm glad you have, some respect for Chopin at least.
So, yeah.
And what else you got?
What other middling thing?
You're not going to put the short green-haired, I don't know, what do they call them? Cave babes or something?
Oh, the cave babes.
You're not going to rank them?
No, yeah, I'm good.
Just kidding.
I'm good. I don't dislike it, but I didn't quite understand the rules behind getting the eggs to get the secret bonus levels or, bonus things and stuff. I didn't quite understand how those unlocked.
Yeah, some of them are wonky, and I still to this day don't know exactly. Generally, those orangish colored ones, the screen has to be clear, and then there can't be anything that's going to hit you, and then you got to hit them, and then that pink pterodactyl will come out and take you off to another thing. But it's kind of hard to, I don't know. I don't know all of the rules either. And even then, once you get to some of those bonus stages and you'll see a key and then over there's like a 1-up. So you start going for the 1-up and then you're like, oh, how come there was no indication that there was a time limit or anything like that. So yeah, they're a little all over the place.
Yeah, it's a little.
I like the concept of having like bonus stages, of course. Like it's
it's
a quick slight distraction or whatever, but
yeah, but it's one of those things though where it's like outside of just grabbing a 1-up, like do we really need the
and stuff if you need health?
Well, because like the arcade keys. One had, I think the arcade one had like multiple endings.
Okay.
And I don't recall if the SNES had that. I think it was just
here, as far as I'm
aware. It's just the heart devil. There's no mutated caveman. There's none of
that other stuff.
There's none of that silly stuff.
Yep.
You don't get to ride dinosaurs on the river.
Yep.
No, none of that.
Just a straightforward game.
Yeah, it's a straightforward game, so the extra stuff is kind of like, why are you here?
Why are you here?
Well, but I mean that. Like, why are you here? Like, if there isn't... outside of getting the 1-up in the little quick mini stage thing, bonus stage, what's the point of all the other stuff? Why grab the key to unlock the other areas and do any of that stuff when it's just like, I'm good. I'm just gonna beeline it for the final area.
Yeah, I suppose if you had to do them all and if that unlocked like some extra thing, that'd been cool. Like as far as I'm aware, there isn't. So I don't even think there's enough keys to unlock everything, as far as I know.
Just go back, repeat it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like there might be, but I don't think there is. So again, being such an early game, they probably just like, we got to get something out quick so that we can capitalize on our game that's just come out, and it's probably a bit more of that.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's probably what it is. So, right? Like, well, no, I just don't know. It probably is. It's probably just a case of like, let's get this game out quick. It's not going to be that hard for us to convert most of the assets and so forth. So, probably what happened, being such an early game. That'd be my guess. I wouldn't say like necessarily a cash grab, but just not necessarily putting all the intended resources into the game that they could. So. It's too bad because Data East has quite a few arcade games that are just really wacky experiences, just very weird. If Data East did basically two things. They either completely stole an idea from somewhere else and just slapped a new coat of paint on it and it was like, look at this game, it's amazing. It's like, no, it's not. It's just Strider with I don't know, an antelope instead of a human or something like silly like that. They did that quite a lot, actually. And if they didn't do that, then they would just make something that was so offbeat and so weird that nobody else would copy it. They were just like, what is that? Like, what is that game?
We're good.
Yeah, it's like the idea of like, we got to get Karnov in every single one of these games in a cameo. Like, I don't get it. Like, who's sitting there saying, yeah, this is our mascot. This is who we are. It's very un-Japanese in a way, right? To not have like a very cutesy character or symbol that just kind of is something traditional or just very recognizable, to just be like, we're gonna make a Turkish djinn. Like, that's what we're going for.
We are gonna want to make our mascots the Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninjas.
Yeah, he's in that. So he's in that. There's the other Joe and Mac arcade game that plays closer to Snow Brothers. He's in that.
What's that? That's the
Returns
Caveman Games or something? Oh, Returns.
Something like that, yeah. No, Caveman Games is a different company.
Yeah.
Returns is really fun, actually. I've played that in the arcade. It's actually a really fun game. That probably is my favorite Joe and Mac game. Like, I really like that one. It's got really nice animation. It's really, really simple. It's just like, it's sort of like Bubble Bobble. Like, it's, stage done. Like, each stage, you're just clearing the screen kind of thing. It's very much like Snow Brothers, if you've played that. Or Bubble Bobble. But yeah, I like that one a lot. But yeah, there's a Karnov cameo in that one. So you just kind of.
Heck, if I think about it, didn't Data East do like I don't know if they did the other one. Didn't they do Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo?
Shadowrun?
Yeah, didn't they?
I think they published it.
They published it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think.
I'm trying to remember because I played it on the Super Nintendo. I remember.
Other than publishing the Super Nintendo one, I believe.
I remember Data East being there somewhere.
And they may not even been the publisher of that, but pretty sure they didn't do the Genesis one. So the Genesis and Super Nintendo one are kind of different games. So
they are, yeah.
Yeah, they might have. I can't recall. But that what was their one-on-one fighter that they had? Not Art of Fighting. What was that one called? Fighter's Destiny. And then you better believe Karnov's one of the main bosses in that.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to get Karnov in there anywhere they can. He's pretty annoying in Bad Dudes. He's not fun to fight. He's probably even in Two Crude Dudes. I think he's in that too. Pretty sure he's in that too. I wonder who owns the Karnov asset now. Like, I'm surprised because we've had a lot of other games like this Switch and PS4 and all this stuff, like we've had a new Snow Brothers game. There's the remake of Joe and Mac. There's a remake of Operation Wolf. Like somebody's picked up all of these old games. But I've never seen anything Karnov related. So I'm wondering, is the founder of Data East like just holding on to that IP and just like, I'll never let it go.
Never.
There'll never be another Karnov. There was a new Toki game. I don't know if you remember Toki, but
nope.
There's like a guy who gets turned by a wizard into a giant ape that spits fireballs. This is a really odd game, like 80s game. I don't think we've had a New Zealand story. There was one on the DS, but I don't think there's been one since. But a lot of these IPs are getting picked up again. So I'm like, where's the new Karnov?
Somebody is doing quite the work for it.
Yeah. Somebody's really fighting and,
fighting the good fight.
Yeah. Well, and also just like going hard, like, I'm coming after you. I'm getting that Karnov IP, whether you like it or not.
Matter, just go. Well, that's Chelnov.
Yeah, Chelnov too. What was that one called? That was called the Atomic Runner. That's the same game. That's a pretty good game, actually. That's another kind of weird Data East game. Like it's a decent game. It's got a pretty horrible backstory, but
I don't know the backstory.
The game's story is like yeah. Go read it.
Pretty dicey.
Well, the name Chelnov, like just go ahead and
Okay.
You'll read it after and you'll be like, wow, they allowed this.
Different times.
Yeah. A rather large event in the 1980s in the Ukraine.
I have an idea of what it is.
Yes, in the Ukraine. So,
yeah.
And they had the audacity to just make a game off of that.
Heck yeah.
So,
other people see
no shame. Data East had no shame.
We see opportunity.
Yes. Is that like the Warren Buffett thing? Like where others see fear, you should see opportunity, and when others are greedy, you should step back, kind of thing. I know it's not the exact quote, but
I know. Yeah, I know.
Data East is right in there.
Data East, everyone.
There's a reason Data East doesn't exist anymore. All right, what else you got there? Or do you have anything else?
In the middling, or just
just like maybe just either or at this point.
The bees are awful.
Yes, the bees go in the bad for sure.
That is like the worst.
Very annoying.
They're like the hardest thing in the game. The bees.
They are. And then you think you're like, yes, I knocked over that beehive, and then it still hits you as it falls down.
All right.
Come on.
Because there's just not enough space. It's just not enough space, and they're just at an
That's like the
angle.
one time the club is useful, though, because the club can get in there and knock them off a lot faster than your thrown weapons can. So if you can kind of take that risk reward and just kind of do the light jump and just club it off, that's kind of probably your best bet. That's the one time the club is useful.
Yeah, the bees are awful.
Yeah, bees are awful. I think you're right. They're probably the worst enemy in the game.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage too.
They do, yeah. They keep coming at you.
Are they allergic or do magical? Do they need a little like EpiPen kind of thing? Like, what is going on?
Yes, a prehistoric EpiPen.
Ate like coconut or something.
You rub some coconut oil on that.
All right. But yeah, the bees were awful. I don't like the presentation, but I loathe that fight with the heart devil. I don't like it.
Oh, the heart devil?
Yeah, it just takes forever.
Yeah, and I don't mind it. Like for me, it doesn't bother me. I like the look of the boss. Like it's fine and stuff. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah, that fight just took forever, and it drained me of my patience because it kept on doing the flame attack.
Which one?
Well, I was gonna say
the red or the blue.
The red, where it spits it out in the corners, and it kept doing that like over and 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 over. Oh, here's a duplicate of you. Okay, then we're back to the flames. It's like, come on, like, good
You got to stay in
lord.
that middle and just you got to find that time when he kind of slides down toward you, and you got to hit him with that wheel. So
It just took, you, because of that, you would only be able to hit him at like a very specific time after the first flame passes down at the bottom, like at the floor of the stage, and you're just like, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, but then
I can get hit. It just takes too long.
Yeah, and then the problem with the wheel is if you do miss with the wheel, like you get 2, but it takes some time for it to roll off screen to reset. So that can be a little bit annoying. I seem to remember the Genesis one, the wheel being, I don't know if you get 3 instead of 2 in that one. I can't recall. I think Returns you get more as well. But Returns just play so different than either the Super Nintendo games or the original, like the first arcade game. It just plays a lot different. So.
Okay.
Yeah, check a video out of it and just, I don't know if you'd like it. I do think it's available on the Switch for purchase. It's like one of those arcade games or something. I'm not sure, but I don't know. From what I played of it, I liked it. So.
Okay.
It can be a quarter stealer, but I think it's one of those games too that if you practice enough, probably can kind of get good at it and don't need quite as many quarters. But yeah. Yeah, so I think for me, the bees were definitely in the bad for me because and thankfully they're only on that one level. Because mercifully they're only on one level because they would definitely take a lot more lives if they were further on in the game. That's actually one thing this game, there are some repeated assets and stuff, but on the whole, I think they mix them up enough that if you are frustrated by a specific enemy or something, they're not constantly repeating them, most of them at least, which I don't mind. Like I put that in kind of the middle. Like the ones that do bug you will really bug you, but like we don't keep getting those piranha fish, for example, right? Like they're not on every stage. If you don't like them, that they're flying up at you and things like that. So at least they kind of balanced it a little bit with that. So, the fire is one of my favorite weapons, but again, can be very frustrating if you miss with that fire and now you're like, well, now I'm stuck with the club and it takes a long time for that to reset. I find the fire works really good on the mammoth, actually.
Yeah.
Like you just got to wait for that mammoth to get close to you and then throw it down and hopefully he'll step on the fire when it hits the ground or whatever. So that's probably one of the best uses of the fire. But it's no good on taking out rocks or any of that kind of stuff. Like it's pretty useless. So yeah, I like the fire. I wish you could get 2 shots of that. So kind of more in the middle than really bad per se. Yeah. I don't think I have too much more. Like it's a pretty simple, straightforward game, and you're either gonna just like click and be like, sure, it's fun for a few minutes and then done, or it's gonna be like, I played it for a few minutes, not really for me.
Yeah, there's the one other thing I bring up, and this is the probably the best thing in the game is the Neanderthals having the helicopter.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Throwing those bombs at you.
Yeah.
Watching that thing burst too and how they bounce off screen.
Right.
That's the revenge for one of the guys that hit you and run off screen, is seeing those guys bounce off screen.
Yeah, but there's not enough of it to counter.
No, they don't show up as much. But truly, those Neanderthal goofbags, they don't show up a ton really, except for like a couple bosses that spit them out and stuff. But and I wish they were damaged more when you club them. You know how like they flatten
right
when you club some of them. Like I wish they, like the animation is fun and everything, but then they kind of keep coming at you still.
Yeah, they don't have that kind of as much of a pause or a way to navigate it as like those blue dinosaurs from Yoshi's or Super Mario World.
Yeah, it's not quite as satisfying when you squish them. Like you'd be like, oh, yeah, like you see it and you're kind of like, oh, you kind of chuckle at it and you're like, oh, they're still kind of coming. It's not really that
helpful.
Yeah, like it's not that funny. Like they're not that damaged that they keep coming at you. So, but yeah.
So. Yeah, so
the darn helicopter thing. It's too bad there wasn't like a another one of them, like
a
two of them on a double riding bicycle, and they're trying to club you, or just a couple of other like goofy things like that would have been fun.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me, I don't know if you've played the game Trog, the arcade game Trog, or it was on the NES as well.
Mm-mm.
So this is your dinosaurs in this game, trying to rescue all the dino eggs, and it's kind of a stage-to-stage game as well. Like, you get all the eggs on this stage, go to the next stage, go to the next stage. And these Trogs are these one-eyed cave guys, and every, like, 10 stages or something, it has, like, an intermission, and they get, like, a new idea of how to kill you every time. So, like, the first few is just, like, they just chase you, then later on they discover that they can use clubs, and then later on they try to make fires for you to step on, and then they cook you and eat you, and then, like, later on they get spring shoes to try to flatten you. And later on they discover the wheel, so they come out of the ground and try to, roll the wheel to run you over and stuff. So if they could have, like, kind of projected that into this a bit more, with a few more of those kind of goofy things, would have been kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, again, they're not too overpowered or nothing either. So
yeah.
I think that's kind of all I've got. So
yeah, I mean, I think this is it on my end there. Is this one of those things that you're going to play again though?
Oh, for me, yeah. Like, I mean, I don't play it all the time, but this is kind of a game like just once I'm like, sure, I just kind of feel like playing Joe and Mac. As I said earlier, it's not a very stressful game or anything. So it's just like, I just want to play something quick and relatively easy and feel like I'm actually achieving something. Because so many modern games are much longer and everything, right? Like, I've got to spend a lot of time to achieve, the final result and whatnot. So yeah, like, it's something I pop on once in a while. So, and I always have. So I don't think that would change for me. And for you?
Gotcha. Probably not, but that isn't a condemnation of the game. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think it's a bad game or anything. I would just rather play 2.
Yep.
Or
that's your
if I want to, right? If I have an itch to want to play something short, I'll play something else. Like, basic NES platformer. Insert here, Castlevania, the Mega Man's, that sort of thing. That's more of my speed. Or jam, whatever. So.
Yep, that's fair.
But yeah, like I said, it's not awful. And if anything, I think this is, if you want to introduce somebody to play a platformer, this isn't an awful one to give them, because it's not that mean.
Yeah. If you want to just kind of learn the ropes a little bit, then not be super, super frustrated, it's probably not a terrible choice.
It's not that mean, and as you've pointed out before with the co-op, you can kind of help, right? Help the other person get through it and stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we end?
Well, I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening. And if you've got any comments on the Data East, Joe and Mac, let us know. Obviously, we kind of skewed towards the stone being favorite weapons there, but maybe somebody else likes something else other than the stone wheel. I don't know. That, or maybe you remember sound effects that I don't, and Sushi forgot to mention. So
yeah, or if I'd love to hear if somebody just plays through this with just a club, like that would certainly up the challenge of the game,
right?
So, and just try to club your way through.
So that's it. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. Bye. Toodles. I don't know. All that fun jazz.